Do you know every morning we have an email service? Every morning we can send you straight to your email box not only our most interesting video of the previous day, but also a scan of interesting headlines from other newspapers and media companies. I literally use it to start my day. You can sign up right on our website too. We call it Rebel Buzz, and it's free. And you can unsubscribe anytime. Anyways, let me show you a few of the stories from this morning's Rebel Buzz. I find it terrifying. Here's one in the Globe and Mail. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says his cabinet is meeting Thursday to decide on potentially sweeping new COVID-19 restrictions for Toronto and the neighboring regions of York and Peel, warning of a possible lockdown. Well, not a lockdown for him, of course. I mean, Doug Ford loves going to weddings without a mask or social distancing. The lockdown is just for you. It's not for the ruling class. Here's another one. Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health's Medical Officer of Health is urging residents to not visit homes or allow visitors into their homes. So solitary confinement. Do you think they're going to obey that don't visit people rule themselves? I mean, the ruling class. Do you think they'll follow their own rule on that? Here's another one from Global News. British Columbia is set to impose province-wide travel restrictions on Thursday. Hang on. Their Premier, John Horgan, the NDP leader, just last month had an election. It wasn't scheduled. He called it as a snap election because he saw the polls and he sensed he could make some political gains. And he was right. So he made the province go through an election. That was okay. But choosing to travel in your own province for you, the little people, that's against the law, don't you know? Here's another one from the Globe and Mail. Premier John Horgan says he will lobby Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to work with the provinces on developing a national travel plan to fight the spread of COVID-19. Got it. So the guys who fly in private jets will meet to talk about putting the rest of us under lockdown by restricting already restricted airlines. Oh, and goodbye to Air Canada and WestJet. Nice having those jobs while they lasted. Here's the Edmonton Journal. Alberta's Chief Medical Officer of Health is asking police chiefs across the province to help enforce new COVID-19 measures. Hang on, is that how it works? An unelected, unaccountable public health bureaucrat can direct actual police with guns to enforce her health dictums now. Is that how it works in democracies? And that's under Jason Kenney. But still, it's not enough for the opposition. Here's a story about Rachel Notley. The leader of the NDP opposition called on Jason Kenney's UCP government to implement a mandatory mask policy for all public indoor spaces in all enhanced list regions. Again, do you think she complies with that rule when the cameras aren't looking? By the way, talking of masks, there's been a massive new scientific peer-reviewed study out of Denmark showing that there's no evidence that masks work to stop the virus. In fact, it raises questions about whether masks actually make it worse. I read the whole study myself, but I couldn't find it covered in the mainstream media. Have you? I think it's the biggest study, peer-reviewed, professional, real doctors, not politicians or pundits. Why wouldn't that lead the news, even just to talk about it? If there's a flaw with the study, fine, let's hear it. But wouldn't you at least mention it? Here's another story. Yukon prepares to impose new quarantine rules. The Yukon, have you ever been up there? I have. Oh, it's so pretty. It's one of the least dense places in Canada. It's so sparsely populated, and you're going to lock them down a bit, are you? That's not science, that's politics. Another story from the state broadcaster. Quick discharges, surgery delays in Ontario as COVID-19 puts stress on hospital system. Oh, you mean so cancer surgery and heart surgery and screenings for real disease that are the leading causes of death? I mean, that's cancer, that's strokes, that's heart disease. Yeah, get rid of that unimportant stuff because we have some sexy COVID cases, but at least people are getting rich off it. I mean, some people, look at this story from Blacklock's. Canada Revenue Agency records suggest billions in pandemic relief was paid to ineligible claimants. So nearly 1 million people got $2,000 a month and they didn't qualify, but they got it anyways. Oh, well, you know, $1 billion here, $1 billion there. Pretty soon you're talking real money, but it's not about the money, at least not mainly. It's that we're all being put through the biggest civil liberties intrusion of our lives, and it's practically unanimous amongst all the important people, amongst the establishment. They think this is great. They're loving it, the governments and the opposition parties. Tell me what Aaron O'Toole of the Conservative Party has opposed, other than some of the spending, but certainly he supports most of it. Has he opposed anything here? Tell me what civil liberties he's defended, or the so-called conservative Brian Pallister of Manitoba, or Scott Moe in Saskatchewan, or the worst of all, Doug Ford. And the media, they're unanimous. They're the enforcers. And the civil liberties groups, other than John Carpay's Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, civil liberties groups are silent. They want to talk about forcing hijabs back into the secular civil service of Quebec. This is the worst of times. And I think as the months proceed, and as it becomes increasingly apparent that the masters of the universe intend to make this crisis permanent, I think our job here at Rebel News should evolve to take a growing role in opposing this destruction of our liberties and our life. Don't you think so? That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.